newspapers.
It carries information about politics, economy, entertainment, sports.
Alright, that is it on a sports update.
Business, industry, trade, and commerce. We carry the news of Nigeria and the world, bringing it right to the comfort of your home.
So many events happened from yesterday within and outside the country. Please stay with us as we take a look at the stories.
Newspaper headlines, a program you cannot afford to miss, showing only on ACNN TV.
A beautiful morning to our esteemed viewers from the capital city of Abuja. Schedule. It was due to some technical hiccups. Welcome to the newspaper headlines reaching you from the Advent Cable Network Nigeria Television, ACNN TV. The papers are crowded with stories on insecurity and other stories making the rounds within and around the globe. Remember, you can join the program through phone call via the numbers showing on the screen and our social media platforms. On YouTube is youtube.com/ACNN-TV. On Facebook, it's facebook.com/ACNN-TV. On Instagram and Twitter at ACNN-TV. And our website is acnntv.com. I am Rachel Igbunu. We start the program this morning with Vanguard newspaper, and I'll take it from the lead story is on insecurity. Gunmen on rampage in Kaduna, Delta, Taraba, and FCT. The kickers: kill 20, injure many, raise houses in Kaduna, Delta attacks. Herdsmen kidnap female farmer in Delta. She's missing. This is coming from the police. Kidnap Taraba NLC chairman. 4 others in FCT after 3 hours operation. How our colleague was murdered, coming from Imo NBA. The story can be found on page 5. Now, beside this graph, COVID-19, why Nigerians are afraid to accept vaccine, by Archbishop Kaigama. Details on page 8. And on that same page, cryptocurrency bans to protect Nigerians' financial system. This is coming from CBN. And the graph is that of low level of financial knowledge threatens 33.6 million MSMEs. 48% of economic growth prospect under threat. The kicker: NAMSE advocates business support services. Formal education not same as financial literacy, coming from the Bank of Industry. And you can see the chart here, MSMEs and financial literacy capacity. See inside of Vanguard newspaper for more details. And beside that, marauding herdsmen have launched guerrilla warfare on Yoruba land, Agbekoya and Afenifere. Details on page 10. We move up above the masthead on page 12. CBN Governor Ishekiri Khan, PFN mourn Okowa's father. Page 8. Headers crisis. Act now to avert civil war. Shoyinka tells Buhari. On page 30, coming from Atedo Peterside, COVID-19. Nigeria can't afford another lockdown. The last story on Vanguard newspaper says Igbo presidency will end grievances in Southeast. This is coming from Ngodu. Chakwas Okori. Details on page 13. All right, that is it on Vanguard newspaper. We move to Blueprint newspaper, and I'll take it beside the masthead. Dangote begins feeding of 1 million malnutrition Nigerian children. Dangote begins feeding of 1 million malnutrition Nigerian children. Details on page 7. On page 8, lab scientists to commence COVID-19 vaccine production. Below the masthead, Tinubu Akonde not opposed to APC membership registration. This is coming from the Progressive Governors Forum boss. Says manual exercise may be hijacked. The story starts from the front page and continues on page 6. On page 8, AU must be reformed to stay relevant. This is coming from the President, Buhari. We move now to the lead story on insecurity. Navy nabbed 3 kidnappers at POS point in Kaduna. The kickers. Bandits kill 19 in Bernongwari, Kajuru. 6 gunmen arrested. 2 victims rescued in FCT. APC chair killed in Benue. An NLC boss kidnapped in Taraba. Algon seeks spiritual solution. Lalong urges forgiveness. Details on page 6. And the last story is this picture on Blueprint newspaper from left. The chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, APGA chairman, National Vice Chairman, North Central ADP, during a meeting with the political parties on the creation of new polling units in Abuja. This happened on Friday. All right, New Telegraph newspaper is next, and I'll take it above the masthead. Nigeria, UAE spat lingers as Emirates cancels flights. Travelers stranded amidst COVID-19 protocols row. Details start from the front page and continues on page 8. On page 25, on unaudited accounts, reps to sanction 18 MDAs and CEOs. The story is on page 25. Below the masthead, how I prayed, fasted not to be made RCCG-GO, coming from Adeboye, and the story is on page 7. On page 8, NNPC cuts spending by 4.81 billion naira in 1 month. AU will be irrelevant unless overhauled, says Buhari. Details on page 8. On page 7, Benue APC world chair killed as violence rocks registration. Now to the lead story. Ban on cryptocurrencies. How cyber criminals activities triggered CBN's clampdown. The kickers. Source: cartel hijacked bank's database. Asked for bitcoins. Apex Bank defense position. PDC operators back regulators. Details on page 3. And below the picture, gunmen kill 23, abduct others in Kaduna. Communities sacked, houses burnt, warehouses looted. That story is on page 28. And now to the last story on New Telegraph newspaper. Keeping fit can boost healthy brain. Keeping fit can boost healthy brain. See the details on page 25. We move to Nigerian Pilot newspaper, and I'll take it from the lead story. Bandits kill 19. raise houses in fresh Kaduna attacks. Governor El-Rufai commiserates with bereaved families. Hoodlums ransack 3 states' police stations. The states include Abia, Ebonyi, and Imo, as residents live in fear. See details on page 8. And the picture from left to right is that of the national president, National Council for Women's Society, Dr. Gloria Shoda, UNFPA country representative, Ms. Muela, Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talon, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Women Affairs, Dr. Antonia, and the Director General, National Center for Women Development, Mrs. Mary Ekpere Etta, during a news conference on International Day of Zero Tolerance to Females' Genital Mutilation in Abuja. This happened at the weekend. And below the picture, on page 5, $500 million electricity projects. Serap asks World Bank for details. That is on page 5. And on page 11, the bottom strip stories. Reps member Galadima in trouble over bail of Maina's son. Imo North. Confusion as Supreme Court and Appeal Court differ on judgments. Details on page 6. On page 5, Tinubu, like Akonde, faults APC's registration and revalidation. Page 8, I wholly support electronic voting, says Governor Diri. Conflicting judgments. Confusion over Imo North senatorial election. 6. Now page 12. WTO, as the World Trade Organization. Nigeria, Africa happy with U.S. endorsement of Okonjo-Iweala, coming from Buhari. We move now above the masthead. Herdsmen crisis. Address Nigerians now. Soyinka urges Buhari. The details on page 5. And on that same page, which happens to be the last story on Nigerian Pilot newspaper, Israel invests in inhaler that cures COVID-19 in just 5 days. Israel invents inhaler that cures COVID-19 in just 5 days. All right, Nigerian Tribune is next. We take it above the masthead. Cryptocurrency illegal, used for money laundering and terrorism, coming from CBN. Details on page 6. On page 25, bandits kill 19, raise houses in 2 Kaduna local government areas. Below the masthead, Fulani herdsmen not responsible for school burning in Kogi. This is coming from the governor, and the story can be found on page 25. On page 4, AU must be reformed to stay relevant. This is coming from Buhari. And NNPC recorded 13.4 billion naira trading surplus in November 2020. Details on page 7. And now to the lead story on Nigerian Tribune. End allowance. Federal government owes university workers over 150 billion naira. The kickers. Unions say workers not paid since 2011. That is 2011. And coming from ASU, approval of 20 private varsities, a mockery of Nigeria's education. Approval of 20 private varsities, a mockery of Nigeria's education, coming from ASU. Details can be found on page 2. Now, beside the Ekiti government sues IGP over dismissal of pregnant police woman. See details on page 30. And on page 25, why we can't confront kidnappers. This is coming from Edo Police. APC chairman killed in Benue. See details on page 27. On page 4, Zamfara APC resolves crisis, picks Yari as leader. And now to the picture is that of Governor Simon Lalong of Plateau State and wife Regina at the commemoration service to mark the 3rd Plateau Day Forgiveness and Reconciliation at St. Louis Catholic Church, Jos. This happened on Sunday. And below the picture, Afenifere, Shokapu, others demand new constitution. Says 1999 documents can't solve security challenge. Details on page 3. And the last story on Nigerian Tribune says 2 dead in Ilobu, Osun land dispute crisis. The kickers. Osun governor declares 24-hour curfew. Soldiers, policemen move in. See details on page 26. All right, we'll pause here to observe a short break. When we return, newspaper headline continues with stories from other papers. Please stay tuned.
Beaming from the nation's capital, we bring to you the good news through various programming, news update, worship and teachings.
The paralysis of sin makes us to be separated from God.
Contact us for your live streaming solutions and event coverage, such as synods, conferences, seminars, revivals and lots more. Engage us in showcasing your brands and services to the world through adverts and sponsorship. We also offer latest broadcast equipment for rent, all at affordable prices. Tune in to ACNN TV via any free-to-air decoder with the following installation parameters: Intelsat 20 satellite with tuning frequency 12562 MHz, symbol rate 30 Mbps, orbital position 68.5 degree east, and horizontal polarization. You can also keep in touch with episodes of our programs via these social media platforms. For inquiries, please call 070-3265-6544 or mail us via enquiries@acnntv.com. ACNN, reaching the world with the undiluted Word of God.
Thank you for staying tuned. Remember, you can join the conversation through phone call and share your thoughts on the headlines. We continue with leadership newspaper, and I'll take it below the masthead. President Muhammadu Buhari, Tinubu, Mo Ibrahim, Konjo Iweala to speak at Ehingbeti. The story starts from the front page and continues on page 7. On page 5, President Muhammadu Buhari seeks reform of African Union. That is on page 5. And now the lead story. Citing neglect, IDPs resort to begging, prostitution, drugs. The kickers say we are dying of starvation, lack of water and medication. Displaced students risk mixing SSCE for paucity of funds. Dangote begins feeding of 1 million malnourished children. See details on page 4. Down to the picture, which happens to be the last story on leadership newspaper, is that of Lagos State Governor Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu with newly appointed Permanent Secretary Mr. Omo Bolaji after his swearing in at Lagos House Marina, Lagos. This happened at the weekend. All right, Daily Trust is next. I'll take it from the lead story. 26 killed in Kaduna, Edo, Osun attacks. customs officer. 4 others abducted in FCT. Taraba NLC chair gains freedom. Details on page 5. And we have this picture of motorists gather for funeral of 16 persons killed in a village at Benongwari yesterday. May their souls rest in peace. Now to the bottom strip stories on page 4. Federal government to repatriate 4,982 Borno refugees in Cameroon. 3 Almajirai, 8 others burnt in tanker fire. Oh, may their souls rest in peace. The story is on page 10. And on page 19, NDLEA seizes 1.4 billion naira cannabis in Edo village. Above the lead story, on page 4, membership registration, Benue APC World Chair killed. Furore over CBN ban on cryptocurrency. See details on page 10. And to the last story on page 20. Police kill 8 in Edo, nab 6 kidnappers in Abuja. All right, we move to this day newspaper and I'll take it above the masthead. Buhari seeks overhaul of AU to make it more relevant. The story starts from the front page, continues on page 9. On page 8, NNPC earned $108.84 million from oil, gas exports in November. The lead story now, CBN investigates cryptocurrency companies, banks account for fraud. The kickers insist restrictions to safeguard Nigerians and financial system. List inherent risks to block accounts with suspicious transactions. BDC operators groups back Emefiele on transactions ban. The story starts from the front page, continues on page 9. Stakeholders raise concern over distribution of extra polling units. INEC receives 5,000 requests from 25 states and the Federal Capital Territory. The story starts from the front page, it continues on page 9. And the picture is tagged ambassadorial visit from left to right. The Gombe State Deputy Governor and Nigerian Ambassador to Malaysia and Governor Muhammadu Yahaya during the ambassador's visit to the governor in Gombe. This happened yesterday. The last story on this day newspaper. Bandits. Terror reign persists as 19 killed in Kaduna local government areas. Bandits' terror reign persists as 19 killed in Kaduna local government areas. May their souls rest in peace. The story can be found on page 5. We move now to sports news on page 31 of Vanguard Sports. Oshola named Best African Woman Player of the Decade. Gerard keen to keep Balogun at Rangers. Leon Spinks passes, dies at 67. And Tottenham 2, West Brom 0. Kane scores on his return. On Champions League, Liverpool to face RB Leipzig in Budapest. Egbe thumbs up to Governor Deary. And City trash Liverpool at Anfield. Ibrahimovic scores 500th club goal. To the last story on this page, page 31. Onyekuru celebrates derby win over Fenerbahce. Now to the back page. Osimhen not at his best yet. This is coming from Gattuso. Come down. West Brom can't afford Musa. That is the last story on this page. We move now to today's fixture on football. Premier League, Leeds versus Crystal Palace by 10 p.m. MPFL, Ifeanyi Uba versus Kano Pillars, 4 p.m. Rivers United versus Nasarawa United, 4 p.m. Then La Liga, Atletico Madrid versus Celta Vigo, 9 p.m. Then results by the weekend on Premier League. Tottenham 2, 0, Leicester 0, Liverpool 1, Man City 4. And NPFL results: Dakada 2, Abia Warriors 1, Akwa United 3, Katsina United 0, Rangers 1, Warriors Wolves 0, Jigawa GS 1, Adamawa United 0, Lobby Stars 0, Wiki Tourist 0, MFM 1, Heartland 2, Sunshine Stars 1, and Kwara United 0. We also have the results from La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, and League One. Get the Vanguard Sports newspaper and see the results. And this is where we draw the curtains on today's edition of Newspaper Headlines. Thank you for allowing us grace your TV screen. Till we come your way again, I leave you with this. You learn more from failures than from success. Don't let it stop you. Failure builds character. So, use your failure to your advantage today. Have a glorious week, and God bless you.
Beaming from the nation's capital, we bring to you the good news through various programming, news update, worship, and teachings.
The paralysis of sin makes us to be separated from God.
Contact us for your live streaming solutions and event coverage, such as synods, conferences, seminars, revivals, and lots more. Engage us in showcasing your brands and services to the world through adverts and sponsorship. We also offer latest broadcast equipment for rent, all at affordable prices. Tune in to ACNN TV via any free-to-air decoder with the following installation parameters: Intelsat 20 satellite with tuning frequency 12562 MHz, symbol rate 30 Mbps, Orbital Position